It was an ordinary Saturday morning when I decided to do some tidying up around the house. My name is Rachel Morgan, and I'm a single mom raising my teenage son, Brian. Ever since his father passed away 3 years ago, it's just been the two of us. Brian's always been a quiet, respectful kid, more interested in video games and books than going out partying like other kids his age. That morning, he had been in his room for hours, the door closed, and not a sound coming from inside. I figured he might have fallen asleep again, which wasn't unusual on weekends. I grabbed the laundry basket and started collecting clothes from each room. When I got to Brian's door, I knocked gently. "Brian, I'm coming in to grab your laundry," I called out. There was no answer. Assuming he had his headphones on or had dozed off, I turned the doorknob and walked in. What I saw made me stop in my tracks. Brian wasn't sleeping. He wasn't gaming. He wasn't even alone. Sitting on the bed next to him was a young girl, around his age, with long blonde hair and a look of pure shock on her face. They were both fully clothed, thankfully, but clearly startled. I blinked, trying to process what I had walked into. Brian stood up quickly, his face going red. "Mom, you should knock," he exclaimed, even though I had. "I did knock," I said, still standing in the doorway. "Who's this?" The girl looked mortified and avoided eye contact. Brian took a breath. "This is Emma. We're working on a school project together." I raised an eyebrow. "And what part of the project requires you to lock the door?" Brian looked down. I didn't want to be disturbed." I nodded, still taken aback. I wasn't angry, just surprised. Brian had never brought a girl home before. He wasn't the type to do anything behind my back, but it still caught me off guard. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Morgan," Emma said, standing up and brushing off her jeans. "We weren't doing anything wrong. I promise." I could tell she was sincere. I softened a little. "I believe you, but maybe next time let me know you're here." I was about 2 seconds away from dumping laundry all over the place. They both laughed nervously. I left the room, giving them a little space, but my mind was racing. It wasn't the fact that a girl was in his room. It was that Brian had kept it a secret. I decided to give them the benefit of the doubt and not make it a big deal. Teenagers crave privacy, and as long as there were boundaries, I was okay with it. Later that evening, I sat Brian down for a talk. We were at the kitchen table, and he seemed a little embarrassed. "I didn't mean to hide anything," he said. "Emma's just different. She's really smart and we get along. I wasn't sure how to tell you." Smiled. "You don't have to be scared to tell me things, Brian. Trust you. But being open is important." He nodded. "I get it. And thanks for not freaking out earlier." The conversation brought us closer. I saw a new side of my son that day. A maturing young man trying to navigate relationships and independence. Over the next few weeks, Emma became a regular visitor. I got to know her well. She came from a good family, worked hard in school, and had a kind heart. It was clear she and Brian genuinely cared for each other. But then something happened that none of us could have anticipated. One afternoon, I was in the living room folding laundry when I got a call from the school. It was the assistant principal, Mr. Delaney. "Mrs. Morgan, we need you to come in. There's been an incident involving your son and another student." My heart dropped. I immediately thought the worst. "Is he okay?" I asked, already grabbing my keys. "He's not hurt, but it's serious. We'll explain when you get here." I rushed to the school and was led into a small office. Brian was sitting there with Emma, both looking nervous. Across from them sat another student, Jake, a boy from Brian's math class who had a bit of a reputation for causing trouble. Mr. Delaney explained that Jake had taken a photo of Brian and Emma while they were in the library studying and edited it to make it look inappropriate. He posted it online as a joke, but the post went viral at the school. My blood boiled. Brian and Emma were victims of a cruel prank, and it was hurting their reputation. Brian tried to explain. "We were just sitting there. He must have taken the picture without us noticing." Emma's eyes welled up with tears. "Everyone's saying awful things about me. I didn't do anything wrong. I turned to Mr. Delaney. This is harassment. What's being done about it? Jake was suspended for a week and had to issue a public apology, but the damage had already been done. The incident left a mark on Brian and Emma. They stopped spending as much time at school together, choosing instead to study at our house where they felt safe. Despite the ugly situation, I watched as Brian became stronger. He stood by Emma, defended her when people whispered behind her back, and focused even more on his grades. He refused to let a stupid prank define who he was or who she was. Over time, the rumors died down. People moved on, as teenagers often do. Brian and Emma stayed together, and their bond only deepened. I admired their resilience, especially in the face of judgment and immaturity. Months later, Brian came to me with a letter in his hand. He had applied for an academic scholarship to a prestigious summer program at a university out of state. "Mom, I got in," he said, unable to hide his smile. I hugged him tightly. "That's amazing. I'm so proud of you." He hesitated. "Emma got in too. We both applied without telling each other." It was like the universe was rewarding their strength and commitment. They spent that summer at the program growing even more, not just academically but as individuals. The experience changed Brian. He came back more confident, more assured of who he was and what he wanted in life. And through it all, he kept that openness we had rediscovered during that unexpected moment months earlier. Looking back, walking in on him that day wasn't the scandal I had feared. It was a turning point. It opened the door for deeper trust, hard lessons, and personal growth. What happened next wasn't just unbelievable, it was beautiful. I never would have guessed that such a simple, awkward moment could lead to something so profound. My son was becoming a man right before my eyes, and I was honored to witness his journey.